Hello guys, so this is gameplay of Civilization VI. I'm very much looking forward to um, Civilization VII, but one of the major issues that I have with Civilization VI, and I hope they improve upon this in the next game, is that they need to improve the early game. As you can clearly see right now, I'm trying to chase after scouts. Now, one of the things that they say that you have to do is you have to chase after enemy scouts before they reach the barbarian camp. And because of that, the game becomes kind of a whack-a-mole type of game. Because you can clearly see, and as you can see on the screen, I'm trying to chase after this enemy scout, but it's always running out of range for me. It seems like that this whack-a-mole aspect of the game really pigeonholes the whole game into one kind of play style. As you can clearly see, every player will choose the civic that will be associated with essentially fighting barbarians. Hardly ever do I ever see a player that chooses survey. What it does is it makes the game entirely focused on aggression. So the player is essentially forced to, focus entirely on building military units. So there's very little opportunity for different types of play styles. And because of that, I feel like Civilization VII, they need to tone down the barbarians, as I stated before. And the whole scout mechanic should be removed. I think that barbarians should just be roaming around, but I don't think that they should just, a scout that appears should just start, they just start copying units like crazy and send them in a beeline towards your capital. And another way for the early game to improve is that I think that ages should be a bit longer. Ages in Civilization 6 go through too quickly. I get to the classical era too quickly. I get to the medieval era too quickly. And I feel that the way how the game is designed is really like if you research one technology in the tech tree, then you're automatically in that age. It should be more like Civilization 3, where you have to research all the technologies that are a prerequisite before moving on to the next age. So that's one aspect of the early game that should be improved. And also I feel that in Civilization 6, it feels like to me that you're not really building a lot of cities. Unlike in Civilization 3, 4, and 5, where it seems like expansion is a more important aspect to the game, especially in the early game. Because you can clearly see on the screen that I'm being essentially, I have to deal with barbarians fighting me all the time, and it essentially makes the game all about building military units rather than focusing on economic growth, religious growth. And the AI is also, in my opinion, um, too receptive to the player in many ways. Should be a little more aggressive. Um, but another thing that I have to say is about city-states. I think city-states add a narrative to the game. I think they're good, but oftentimes I feel like their units are taking up space and they're blocking everything, and they often are just building units, and they're not actually doing anything with them. It would be nice to see improvements with, being able to utilize city-states on a more expanded level where you have bigger, um, you have more expanded diplomacy with them. So, as you can clearly see, there are some aspects of Civilization VI that I think that work in a way. So, with the idea of the borders being porous before early Empire Civic is a good idea. I like the sepia colored the explored territory, and it appears like a map. It's really nice. But I feel that one of the major issues that I have is simply that the barbarians are too strong, honestly. And that oftentimes you'll notice that on this particular area there's a spearman right there. And this is one of the things that I complain about, is that the barbarians get too strong oftentimes. They're able to build units that are that I would say that would be above what they would be able to do, because they're barbarians, right? They're not civilizations. They should have some of the advanced units, but I think after the medieval era it gets ridiculous. So I feel that the early game right now becomes kind of a whack-a-mole type of affair, and I think that there are many ways in order to we can improve upon the early game. So those are just my thoughts on the early game and what I would like to see in Civilization VII.